You guys are watching High Spot Podcast HSP on the Give Shot Network. I am Jeff Martin, alongside my tag team partner, the trendsetter Brian Berga. Yes, we are back here. We have our HSP End of the Year Award Show. We're going to take one final look back at the world of wrestling in 2024 with our award shows. You're ready to present, trendsetter. I know you're looking forward to this just as much as I am. But guys, first and foremost, Happy New Year to all of you here on the Give Shot Network and everyone that's following us on all our social media platforms. If you can't watch us, make sure you listen to us on all podcast platforms, High Spot Podcast. But again, looking back on the year in pro wrestling 2024, and what an exciting time it was, Trendsetter. It really was. And we're going to take a look back before we move forward. But I want to let you guys know that very special announcement on January the 6th. As soon as Raw on Netflix is over, you can tune in to Give Shot Network and make sure to check us out. So hit that notification bell because we are going live immediately after the first ever, the debut episode of Monday Night Raw on Netflix here on Give Us a Shot. We will give you all our post reactions to everything. It's going to be a huge night, a history-making night for Give Us a Shot Network and, of course, WWE, as it is the first episode on Netflix. Thrilled to do this, trendsetter. So we're kicking off 2025 in a big way. But we're looking back here today in the world of pro wrestling for 2024.
Listen, it's been a great year so far. So much stuff to talk about in 2024. If this is just an inclination of what this year's going to be in 2025, I'm super excited for it right now. So many things happened, which we're going to break down now. But again, wishing everyone a happy new year. Hopefully they enjoyed their holiday season. And in a way, we're wrapping up 2024 in a bow here today on the show.
That's right, trendsetter. And usually we have some awards that we give out. Everyone does it. It's like a tradition that we all hand out awards. And I'm pretty sure that this will just be the final, token for all these hardworking wrestlers here from AEW, WWE, TNA. But we're looking at the landscape of just the impacts that we've had in the world of professional wrestling. So we're gonna get kickstarted first with a big one, and that is the match of the year, trendsetter, the match of the year for 2024. And listen, I don't want to bring up all the runners up, but I know everyone's going to say that the Bryan Danielson match against Swerve Strickland was a sentimental one because of Bryan Danielson winning it in front of his family, winning it at their biggest event in All In, and also in front of Wembley Stadium, their largest. Oh, trendsetter, just try to be professional for just a little bit, especially with this one.
I'm sorry, talking about Bryan Danielson. I can't be professional.
All right, I'll swerve it, no pun intended, into other matches as well. But you had that.
It is.
You had another one with your friend and Bryan Danielson and Will Ospreay too, and that was another one that a lot of people had given them their award to. But when you talk about just the biggest stage and just the biggest storyline and just a storyline that took over almost 2 years to get there with twists and turns, I'm going to go and say that we voted for this as the match of the year. And obviously, guys, respect your opinion, but this is ours. We're going to give it to you. The match of the year for us goes to Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns, WrestleMania 40, the match of the year at WrestleMania. We were there at Lincoln Financial Field, and the emotion about this matchup, everyone had their theories. This was probably the hottest storyline going. And obviously, it culminated at WrestleMania with Cody Rhodes finally finishing the story and becoming the undisputed heavyweight champion. And of course, Roman Reigns, 1,300 plus days as the champion comes to an end, almost 4 years plus. And obviously, that is a big and monumental one, obviously, for Roman Reigns. Just history-making trendsetter, and obviously one that people are still talking about today, and we almost didn't get here because of a certain Hollywood superstar being implemented into it. Actually, the same time last year, right when the Rock came back, we thought it was going to be him and Roman Reigns, and Cody Rhodes had to take a back seat. But the fans spoke. You people, they heard your voices, and as many people that want to complain that they wanted Rock and Roman Reigns, that was the dream match to go. People spoke, and we got Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns, and we had the title change. Rhodes finally winning the WWE Championship.
Listen, I never am one to believe in fairy tales, storybook endings, right? And you could say this was one of it, but to me, listen, you talked about Bryan Danielson, you talked about Will Ospreay. There are obviously so many matches in 2024 from a standpoint of psychology in the ring, from amazing spots, from just one where the crowd was just on the edge of their seat every single time. I'm sure you could give me a huge list of them, right? In this case, I just look at it as if when you're looking at story and things that captivated people, the reason why I put this as match of the year is because it literally took 2 years to get to this point. We had WrestleMania 39 and what we all thought was going to be the, American Dream story where Cody Rhodes finishes his story. It didn't happen. And then you're thinking, man, this is such a huge, mistake. And now for that to have the scenario where continued another year, the chase, where so many things could have gone wrong, and the scenario that you mentioned before, The Rock putting himself into the main event, and then people chanting, "We want Cody," because people are like, "No, we want to see this finished. We want to see the story be done." No pun intended, right? And that's the first time in a long time, Jeff, that I saw the audience. I mean, the audience always wants to kind of dictate what they want to see, and whether the company listens to them or not, whether it's AEW, WWE, etc. Sometimes they'll continue and push forward. But in this scenario, it was just authentic, where the audience just wanted to see this storyline end, not necessarily the right way, but just see the storyline end the way they wanted it to end. And it was going to be Roman and Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania 40. We were there. We were dealing with that cold weather. It seems like only yesterday that would happen, but I can still feel when I watch the replays of it, us talking about it now, I can put myself back in that spot and how a great moment it was. So to me, that was match of the year because the story, not necessarily the match, was so good. The match was great. Cody and Roman have great chemistry, I feel. But the match made sense. The story made sense. And we were all invested. We're all on the edge of our seats. I remember when he went down the ring, Jeff, you and I were like, is he going to do this? I don't know. And that's what makes compelling wrestling, compelling television.
Well, I think too that if you look at the other matches, right, you were left exhausted because of the physical of the match, right? The match being that good. Nothing away from Danielson Ospreay, nothing away from Danielson and Swerve Strickland, nothing away from any other match that you think here. But I left emotionally exhausted because of just the whole story, just because of being invested in that story. Yes, the matchup was good as well. And then obviously you could argue the fact that was probably the greatest match in WrestleMania history. Those last 5 minutes or 10 minutes was without a doubt cramming everything, every Easter egg that you saw, all the history, all the tradition, all into that 5 to 10 minute span. And at the end of the day, you were just left, just like everybody in that stadium, exhausted because you were so emotionally spent. So, yes, while you were physically spent on these other great matches too, the one that leaves you also emotionally spent to me, the most has got to be Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 40. We were there. We saw it. We were also there at WrestleMania.
I saw grown men cry, Jeff, and I was one of them. I was crying my eyes out when it happened because you didn't think it was going to happen.
And you saw WrestleMania 39. We were there as well. Probably the best seats we've ever had, thinking we were going to see Cody Rhodes finish the story there. And a lot of people were arguing. A lot of people the next day were booking and saying, hey, listen, man, he should have won. He should have won. Cody Rhodes should have won. And again, we were those Monday morning people, the Monday morning quarterbacks saying that, listen, this was the wrong way to go. And what happened, whether they intended it or not, whether Roman Reigns said, hey, this doesn't work for me, brother, whatever happened, and you can tell people are saying that Cody Rhodes came down, he knew he was going to lose. He couldn't hide that sad face, just as he couldn't hide that sad face when he knew he was going to main event WrestleMania 40. The people spoke, and they did it. Now, if you want to thank The Rock, or if maybe just cooler heads prevailed and they went with Cody, that at the end of the day was the right way to go, because you've got a tremendous story and quite possibly the greatest main event in WrestleMania history.
Nothing more can be added to that, Jeff. In terms of, just like you said, everything you mentioned from the physical standpoint to the emotion, it just encompassed everything, at least in my opinion. And I'm only speaking for myself when I say this. It's what you look at pro wrestling, you look at those moments, not to be corny about WrestleMania moments, but you look at those moments that you remember after time and think, man, what a great time that was, or the build up to Rock and Austin, the build up towards Hogan and Savage, or, the Ultimate Challenge, or, the Iron Man match between Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart. And, you put this in the category wherever you want to, but the fact that this was a span of 2 years that was done without any, with obstacles in front of it too. It didn't look like it was going to pan out the way you might have anticipated when The Rock inserted himself into this. So, and that's, again, the match people want to see, Roman and Rock, to see if that actually happens in the future. Who knows? But for the audience, I felt, to have believed so much into this and wanting to see the outcome and not wanting it to be interrupted anymore, that to me spoke levels of, wow, the industry is really different from obviously the old regime that we used to deal with to this new regime where they're like, you thought I was going to go the other way, and they stuck their guns. They're like, you know what? No, we're going to continue the story because that's what the audience wants. That's what you're selling it to. And to me, that was the most satisfying thing of it all.
So I think between 2023, late 2023, and I can tell you exactly when CM Punk returned to WWE, from then on, with the Bloodline storyline, with AEW success, with their new TV deal, with everything that's coming up now, John Cena's farewell tour, Netflix coming up on Monday, this is probably, without a doubt, the best time in pro wrestling because everybody is doing so well. But I think that the whole emotion level we've been on since 2023, heading into 2025, I'm looking forward to what's going to happen. So many big things are about to happen. Roman Reigns is back. John Cena is back. Cody Rhodes is still the face of the company. He's still QB1. And so to me, you put everything together. This match has had everything. And that's why at the end of the day, it just supersedes everything else and is the match of the year. So guys, what we did was we wanted to interact with everyone that's been so loyal to us on our social media. So we gave you guys a special IG award and we wanted to do that. And Trendsetter, you can just sit back here. And obviously if you've been on our social media here, we know what the call of the year was. And it was nothing could top the call of the year. Usually it's a call by an announcer, by Michael Cole or Tony Schiavone or, somebody there. But this one belonged to Samantha Irvin because she called the Cody Rhodes becoming the new, and then her voice cracking with all the emotion. If you want to make a point of why that should be the match of the year, then you have look no further than to the call of the year because Samantha Irvin calling Cody's win after defeating Roman Reigns has got to be the call of the year for 2024.
Yeah, again, it encompassed all the emotion that we were dealing with, the emotion that the whole crowd is dealing with because they were so invested in this quote unquote story, not of Cody accomplishing it, but it's when you see a great movie and you see it and it doesn't end, and you see the sequel and you see the third movie, whatever, because you just want to see the ending of what's going to happen here, whether you agree with it or not. That's beside the point. When you saw it, and you saw Samantha Irvin and the emotion she had because she's crying, and he's counting 1, 2, 3. That's powerful because, like, listen, they know what's going on. They might not know what the outcome is, but they know what's going on. They know the intricacies of what's going on backstage, and they're emotional. Michael Cole, the commentating was emotional. Everyone was emotional there, and to me, that just makes, in terms of what it to be symbolic here, in terms of what they say, what this business is all about, and what sports entertainment or wrestling's all about. But it garners on emotion, it garners on investment, and when you do that and you get that reaction from that call, Jeff, that to me, if I'm Triple H or anybody in the back working on creative, that's the reaction you want. That indicates to me that I did my job well.
And what a difference just 6-7 months happens because now we find out Samantha Irvin was working as all of us. She was kayfabing. It didn't mean anything to her. And then also her Ricochet is doing Ricochet stuff in AEW. So what a difference 6 months makes in the world of professional wrestling. She gets the call of the year,
which is an iconic call, especially
the
call she did with AJ and Cody Rhodes in France too. Yeah. That's an iconic call as well in terms of atmosphere. So regardless if she's into it or not,
and we're just joking, Samantha. And we're just kidding, Samantha. We love you. We love you. Trendsetter. About emotions, also too, there are shocking moments. There are shocking moments, and this was a year of shocking moments, whether it's outside of pro wrestling or inside pro wrestling ring. But to me, I want to give AEW some love because while this got criticized a lot, the women have been, to me, the bright spot, and nothing has been more than Toni Storm and Mariah May. And to me, if I'm going to say shocking, when Mariah May won that Owen Hart Cup, and she won that, but then turning on her friend Toni Storm, and you talk about shocking, where you wouldn't even see it coming. And we talked about the whole year, the whole emphasis was storytelling by AEW. Was, there's no stories. They're just putting on matches to make matches. It's about the matches. Where's the story? Well, we got one. And whether you guys want to complain about how it was done or there was too much blood, at the end of the day, it got us talking, and talking to me in a more positive than negative. And hey, you can say other things shocked you, but there's nothing more shocking than Mariah May turning on Toni Storm. And that is why Mariah May is part of the most shocking moment of 2024. I mean, that picture says it all. Look at Toni Storm. We were there at the Forbidden Door, and they were doing that dance, and everything looked so good. And then it was just part of some elaborate evil plan by the beautiful Mariah May. And she walks away here with the most shocking moment of 2024. Good for them. Good for Tony Storm. Good for Mariah May. That was a very compelling storyline. Maybe it ended too early for me, but at the end of the day, though, that to me was the most shocking moment of 2024.
Listen, for all those people that think that Jeff and I, we hate AEW, or specifically me bashing it and talking negatively about it, this is one for the history books, right? Because I'm actually talking something positive about AEW. And the real thing is, we don't want it to go away. We don't want anything bad to happen. We just want it to continue. And I'll give credit where credit is due, Jeff. This storyline here, this scenario with Mariah May and Tony Storm, me watching it as a fan, I'm thinking, okay, I'm waiting to the moment that Tony turns her back on Mariah May. And for that to happen at the moment where maybe you weren't expecting it, that right there, I'm not an expert here, Jeff. You and I are just talking about wrestling because we love it, right? But to me, that there is what you want to do. You want to make the audience, you want to draw them in and then make them surprised. They're not expecting something. When Mariah did that, I was like, whoa, they got me. I was like, awesome. And you want to continue that momentum now. It's changed a little bit too in terms of the story. They could still go back to it, but for that particular moment in 2024, that was one of the most shocking moments that happened, not just in AEW, but in pro wrestling, because nobody was suspecting it. Bravo to AEW in that story. You hope they continue more stories like that into 2025. But if you want a model in terms of what you want to do for shock, interest, and that feeling that you never know what's going to happen, that was it done perfectly. Mariah May now has gone forward to be, a very dominant champion, and go forward and say the fact that, you might not see her that much on TV because it's all about Mercedes Moné. That's for another show. But Mariah May had definitely showcased herself, because when she first came in, she was a side piece. She was a sidekick. And then you saw her on TV more and more and realized, man, this girl can go. She can do stuff here. I like it. And then the mood started changing. Now you see this demonic version of Mariah May, still beautiful as ever. It's great. I loved it. It was, to me, one of the best things AEW did that year.
Yeah, sure. And again, people will criticize, saying, hey, they could have extended this for a good few more months. But at that time, though, it was shocking. And that's what, to me, they got. If they wanted to get that shock value, they did. And so for that, kudos to them. We talked about the stories. We talked about that was their biggest detriment this whole year, and why the ratings were slipping to where they were. And for me, this one, to me, was a bright spot. And so hopefully this year they are putting more of an emphasis, I believe, into it. They've got the deal going now into 2025. So we'll see, again, if they can go upward, because it really can't get worse as far as the ratings now, right? It really, hopefully it doesn't get, obviously Rampage is no longer part of it now, it's just Collision. So we'll see now that they're streaming on Max as well too. We'll see what happens there. Although the first go around has not been too good. So we'll see what happens. And now it'll be hard to determine the ratings, but all that aside, though, that to me definitely was a winner there for the most shocking moment. Anyway, that's a couple to me that split. I mean, maybe they said too early, but a couple that got together in 2024 where I thought that it couldn't get any more better than Mommy and Dirty Dom, right? I didn't think it could get any better. But then Dom, you didn't think he could upgrade. Oh boy, and did he? Because him and Liv Morgan, they work. They just, to me, just continued it. And I didn't know how to feel, because you get so invested into Mommy and Dirty Dom, and you're like, wow, how could these guys split up? But it just seemed like, and no offense, but it just seemed like he just got into another glove and it fit perfectly as well, right? And him and Liv Morgan and Dirty Dom, to me, were the couple of the year. And you want to argue with me? I find it very hard for there to be an argument here as the couple of the year. Look how great they look. Look at that mustache, Dom. I mean, he's strutting like a peacock.
You're looking at the mustache, Jeff?
No. And I wanted to put the booty shorts on here, but this is a PG family show. But I mean, come on now. Was there ever any doubt? I mean, Dirty Dom, it's just, and then they're coming out too with the car and everything at Bad Blood. I mean, this couple just has it. So this to me is the couple of the year. Can you argue with me? Can you make one solid argument? Who better than these two right now?
The reason I'm squinting my face is not because I'm arguing with you, Jeff. It's just, man, I did not hate Dirty Dom more. I hate him now. And you're talking about heat right now. That's even worse, right? For the fact that he's with Mommy and now he's with Liv Morgan. Yeah, listen, I thought the dynamic he had with Rhea Ripley was very authentic. It naturally flowed. I thought, man, you can run with this for as long as you want. It's going to work, right? And when the switch happened, which I kind of thought was going to, they were kind of showing elements of that could happen, right? And it happened at SummerSlam. And when it did, I'm thinking, ooh, I hope it works itself out. And it's been literally tenfold. To me, it's blown the mommy Dominic thing out of the water because these two, if you thought, Rhea and Dominic had chemistry, these people, Dominic and Liv have nuclear chemistry because it just explodes off on the camera where you're like, yeah, this works. It fits. It's great. I'm so happy I'm happy for Rhea for the fact that now she doesn't have that. She's now going on an individual road to be
And she's just exploded too as well.
I still think she's a hypocrite, but whatever. She's she's a star right now, and who knows how much further she can go, right? Sky's the limit for her. But the same thing, I'm so happy for Liv Morgan too. I'm so happy for Liv in the scenario where she was probably in a situation, again, it's only speculation, that it was going to be a dead end. It was going to be a one and done. But this whole scenario with the shoulder and the injury and the story, this has continued on to this point, and it felt like it breathed a breath of fresh air into Liv Morgan, where we see the side of her. We've seen her as a heel before. And it's like, okay, this one is like, my goodness, Liv Morgan, especially that, talk about promos, right? That promo she did when she was she was in the audience and she turned and told Dom, a girl like me, showing her booty with that laugh. I was like, oh my God, look at Liv, the confidence this woman has right now. And for Dominic Mysterio, I mean, besides the fact that the mullet, I hate it, the mustache, despise it. That's what you want. I'm happy for Dominic Mysterio and the mere fact that he is now, in my opinion, no shadow of a doubt here, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff, has completely separated himself from Rey Mysterio. When you look at Dominic Mysterio, you don't think of Rey Mysterio anymore. He is his own man. He is his own entity. And for him as well, sky's the limit for what he can do. Because the biggest thing that he gets out of anything is a reaction from the audience, and he does it probably better than anybody.
He's a top heel, no doubt, maybe the best heel right now in the business. Good for him too. And like I said, man, just things happen organically too for Liv. Sometimes the injury that happens to Ripley was a blessing in disguise, and we'll get to Liv Morgan too because we will hear from her as well here. She's walking away with a lot of hardware this evening, and then I don't know if you saw that on ET though. She's doing pretty well. Who's better than Liv now? Living on a farm, has a bunch of animals, has a huge closet, which I'm jealous about. And 7.5 acres. Wow, Liv Morgan is doing pretty good for a Jersey girl. So always got to congratulate one of our own. So Liv Morgan and Dirty Dom. Who better than that couple? I dare you. I triple dog dare you to come and tell me what was the better couple than them in 2024. Trendsetter, you ready for another one?
Yeah,
so far, how are we doing here?
I think we're doing pretty well because these are things that, people might say, hey, we're leaning more towards WWE, but man, those were the things that people were talking about from early on to mid-year. We talked about this at the tail end of WrestleMania, Jeff, where like, there's going to be that lull period into the summer and then things might change. It's up for grabs because, again, it's still mid-portion of the year. And it just kept continuing this momentum that WWE has been doing it like a juggernaut. They're just going full blast on. And listen, when you've seen what Liv Morgan has done, you've seen the scenario in terms of match of the year, the stories. This is where we start kind of implementing what we did during the show in 2024, Jeff, where like these stories are making more sense. It's not as predictable. There's still some level of predictability in it, but it's not as predictable as we used to have before. So that's what made 2024 exciting. I think we're doing pretty good so far.
Let's keep on going, Trendsetter, because obviously there are matches of the year. Everyone's saying, oh, this to me was the match of the year. Obviously, we just talked about the men's match of the year, but we also got to give the females a lot of credit as we roll in here and we're showing the females some love because this podcast has been about giving the females love here. Really, really love women's wrestling. We're pushing for it, and it's made great strides. Look at NXT. Look at AEW, look at WWE's roster.
So you're watching NXT, Jeff.
I'm definitely watching NXT. Love you, JC Jane. Love you, Nikita Lyons. Love you, Julia. Love you, Stephanie Vaquera. Woof. The list just goes on and on and on. But Trendsetter, though, we got to give the females another love here with their match of the year. And I'm going to tell you this. There's been a lot recently, too. You could even say, the wrestling IWC can say, oh, this match between Mercedes Moné and some girl from New Japan in an arena that had 50 people in it was the match of the year. No. I got to go to Forbidden Door and in Long Island, where we were at the beautiful USB Arena, where we were actually covering it for Give Us a Shot Network. We were there, and we saw Mercedes Moné, and obviously she's had the heat. She's been giving you cringeworthy moments. There should be a whole category of cringeworthy moments for 2024, right? But if I got to give credit, one thing to Mercedes Moné is that she can wrestle. Okay, that is not her problem. Her problem is just relating to the fans and trying to invest and not have go away heat. But I digress. And then all of a sudden, I'm not paying attention. CMLL, okay. But then this drop dead brunette out of nowhere shows up in my life. And
In your life.
it's in my life. And I've not been the same ever since. And then this maneuver, which good Lord, I've never seen before that she does. And she's wearing a cantily clad outfit to begin with. And it shows her assets, if I could say. This woman, Stephanie Vecchia, walks into my life, and I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to end up seeing her on Wednesday nights. I'm going to see her on Collision. I'm going to get to see her, on the AEW side. And then all of a sudden, this catapults this woman to getting WWE's attention, and then for her to pulling off this signing with WWE because of this match. So the importance of this is because AEW thought they had her in the fold. They thought that she was going to be signed for the money, but her dream was to go to WWE, which, hey, if that's your dream, go for it. But this match to me had so many implications that this to me why is the match of the year. And that is Mercedes Moné coming into AEW, getting women over. Oh, and there she is. There she is. Look at those devilish horns. Oh, Stephanie Vecchia. And now she's in NXT because of this, because she got Shawn Michaels and Triple H's attention, and she went to where she wanted to go in NXT. And now she'll be a huge mainstay for the NXT brand and their women's division. But Trendsetter, we saw this matchup. This matchup was really, really good, and she got a lot in, and she really impressed, I guess, the WWE officials because they had to get her. And she's in WWE NXT, and Mercedes Moné showed that, listen, she still has it, and this was, to me, the women's match of the year.
Yeah, listen, again, to piggyback off what you were saying before, I'm not taking anything away from Mercedes Moné. Might not like her personality, might like her demeanor, might not like what she does on television in terms of promos, or just might like her as a person in general. This had nothing to do with Mercedes Moné, because you have to give 100% credit and respect to the fact of what she can do in the ring. She did that at Sasha Banks. She's done that Mercedes Moné, maybe not as consistently because injuries have plagued her recently, not now, but in the past have plagued her. But this match was amazing. It was awesome. And again, for people who didn't know who Stephanie Vecchia was, I mean, unless you're a diehard wrestling fan, you knew who she was. But for the general audience, they didn't. And I'll give credit to Mercedes. I know from a healer standpoint, she'll be like, oh, I made her. I don't know necessarily if you made her or not, but it was the right time, right place, because Stephanie had to fulfill that opportunity, had to take advantage of that opportunity. You have a chance for a lot of people to see you more than the area in terms of whatever promotion you're working for.
Oh, we
You're
saw
more
an area,
globally known.
Oh, we saw an area, all right.
Oh, yeah. And she took advantage of that 100%. Literally, that was one where I said, hey, Jeff, check this girl out. And it didn't take you very long to check her out because you're watching that match attentively for the quality of the match. Nothing more, Jeff. But not only is she beautiful and gorgeous, but she can go in the ring and she can do it, man. And she does it at a great level where to see that happen. And to me, it was more of also a feel-good story, too. I'm sure Tony Khan and AEW wish things had worked themselves out, but for her to have a dream to want to work for WWE and for that match to catapult her where people were now noticing her. And that's all we always want in life, too. Not to get too philosophic here, but we always want an opportunity to showcase our skills, our abilities, so people can see it. WWE valued it. They had talks, and then she had an opportunity to work for them. Took a while for her debut to happen, but again, great things take time and are worth the wait. And Stephanie definitely was worth the wait. I'm so happy for her. That's not also just a match of the year. It's a feel good story for Stephanie in terms of what she's had to go through to get to this point in her life where now she's on the NXT brand with all the other females you had mentioned. In terms of that's a women's roster, man, that anybody wishes they had right now to work with, and to see where she's going to go in the future. That's the best way of describing it for her. But yeah, that I looked at that, I was like, man, I haven't seen a match like that in a long time from a women's standpoint. And to me, early on in the year, we saw that, and I was thinking, man, it's tough to say that's it, but to me, it was for the year of 2024.
Yeah, I mean, to me, you got to think about this too. Like I said, not only do you look at the matches, right? Because there were other good matches like Statlander and Willow, what they did, Mercedes Moné and Chris Statlander. Again, obviously there was a lot of good matches, but you talk about the implications, the effects afterwards that happened. This matchup was a turning point in a lot of ways because WWE's made this effort to get all the best women possible onto their brand. And to me, NXT now, to me, right now is all about the women's show. If you ask me, simply put, right now,
It's fair to say.
it's the women's show. It's the women's brand. And to me, they got Julia towards WrestleMania season. Then they're able to get Stephanie Becker, and it's an embarrassment of riches. And we're all here for chasing your dream and be where you want to be. You chose to be your dream job and not take the money. Fine, that's great. And we wish her success. And if she had stayed in AEW, then she would have been great there too. So obviously, this was a matchup that opened a lot of eyes, and we congratulate Stephanie Becker and Mercedes Moné too, because the doubters that said it was a bad couple of months start, it had to be quiet a little bit because at least for that night, she was all about doing what she did in the ring. Even though she got the win, she still was able to put Stephanie Becker over. All right, Trendsetter, we talk about breakthroughs. Obviously, that was a breakthrough for Stephanie Becker, but we want to talk about breakthrough performers. And let's talk about breakthrough performers on the men's side because we also saw a lot of partnerships this year. Of course, AEW's with New Japan, but then we got this partnership that we were like, whoa, okay, this definitely is a new era in WWE. We got the NXT WWE TNA partnership. And for a guy to come in and win Moment of the Year for NXT, that really is making a huge impact. No pun intended, because he got a lot of views. He got the most viewed video there, about 8 million people watching Joe Hendry's debut. And that's the guy to me, even though there's the Bron Breakkers of the world and so many other people. Joe Hendry, for what he's did, it's been an organic thing. He's done it. And to me, no one's had a more breakout year than Joe Hendry. And that is why I believe, Trendsetter, I believe in Joe Hendry. What you say?
I guess. I'm joking. No, definitely excited for him. I'm excited for him, but I'm also excited for the fact that we saw a partnership that not a lot of people expected to have. And we knew what the partnership was like with TNA and AEW. That didn't work out quite the way I'm pretty sure they hoped it would work out. Although if you speak to people that are there, that on both sides, they would say it was great. But from a fan standpoint, it didn't really seem like TNA was getting a lot of love. To have this scenario happen, and for WWE, I wouldn't say it's a huge sacrifice, but to showcase again what you and I have talked about in terms of the old regime and the new one. The old regime would be like, there's no way we could have anybody from TNA ever beat a WWE superstar / pro wrestler, right? It demeans us. But to allow that to happen on your programming, which means you're only building more interest for them to watch, to say, hey, listen, I've never seen TNA before. Look at this guy, man. Look at the audience. They know who he is. I don't. And he's on TNA. I'm going to tune. So you're willing to sacrifice your audience for them to go somewhere else. To me, is a huge sign of not just confidence from WWE, but confidence that this partnership could work. And that's not just the only one. I'll throw this one in there too, with Jordan Grace also working in NXT for a short period of time while she was on TNA contract. To me, that's amazing for anyone to think that that would ever happen nowadays. It's, the quote unquote forbidden door, which in my honest opinion, Jeff, doesn't really exist. To me, it's only forbidden when certain people just don't want to work together and collaborate. Because to me, collaboration is the best part of everything because everyone wins in this scenario. WWE wins, NXT wins, and so does TNA. So to me, this was talking about feel-good stories, right? We're talking about Stephanie too. This is also great because you see how hard he's worked, Joe. You see the fact that he's put in the time on TNA. People are rooting for him. They want him to finally win that big one. And when you have him on television where he was actually competing for the NXT championship, a title that he's not even working for the company, and for people to believe it could actually happen and like, wow, could we actually have for the first time a wrestler from another company contractually obligated to that company be a champion here? It wasn't that far-fetched to believe that it could happen. And that's the exciting part of what this new regime, this new era of wrestling, if you want to call it, has brought out. So yeah, it was a breakout performance, breakout year for Joe.
So now, obviously, the partnership's kind of plateaued a little bit. We'll see what happens if they continue it heading into 2025. But TNA is definitely much better positioned as they are. Now, they have lost a few wrestlers because they've asked them to take pay cuts, and we don't know what that's about. Perhaps they're going to have an injection of new blood come in to the company, which, if that's the reason, then fine. You have to, cut losses here and there. But they're going to go to bigger arena shows. Obviously, they're going to have one here on Long Island in the summertime, and they're looking to expand. And to me, without this partnership, without WWE, they're not able to do it.
No,
They got
I'm
that
even talking
exposure.
about
And as soon as they got the partnership, and as soon as they started the crossover, people were coming to the shows.
it.
Now
Oh
the
yeah,
wrestling is good, but you need the word of mouth. You need that word. Oh, this guy Hammerstone dude. He's from TNA. Whoa, this guy's big. This guy's like a mini Brock Lesnar. What's this guy about? And then they're gonna go to TNA and watch him. And this partnership to me has left TNA in a much better spot. And I don't want to harp on AEW, but what's going on with New Japan? There's this wrestler named Gabe Kidd, and his gimmick is just to me like a rebel saying what's on his mind, kind of like Stone Cold Steve Austin to a point, right? But he's telling to me the truth of what AEW is about, and they have ripped the cupboard bare in New Japan. And now that excitement for Wrestle Kingdom, for Wrestle Dynasty, it's coming. It's not the same, and you're supposed to leave a company better for it. And I think say what you want, criticize WWE about being the monopoly here. They've done a good job here with TNA, and I think they're in a much better place heading into 2025. Trusted, whose future would you rather have? TNA heading into 2025 or New Japan heading into 2025?
Listen, there's no question I'd rather have TNA's future here. But here's the difference too. I mean, as much as we want to talk about the collaboration of companies working with each other and WWE and TNA working really well, and the AEW New Japan not working well either, or sorry, not working well in this context too, where it's not making them better off. But Jeff, another huge thing too that I want to talk about is the fact that when you look at New Japan Pro Wrestling, and let's go back, let's say 5 or 6 years ago, how exciting it was to watch that when you had these Tokyo Dome matches and you're like, wow, the start of the year, can't wait for the Tokyo Dome Wrestle Kingdom. Then it became a two-night event. Then AEW started. And what I came to realize pretty early on was the fact that New Japan, as much as I love them, this isn't disrespect, it's more of just a critique where I wanted to continue, I wanted to succeed. They just haven't gone about creating new wrestlers or creating new talent in the way that before they kind of had, you could say, a plethora of talent to go for in terms of young and up and coming people from dojo. They're like, this is going to be the future star. This is the next Okada. This is the person that's kind of like Kenny, whatever you want to say. You had Will Ospreay there. And now it just doesn't seem like they're really relying on their legends to continue New Japan Pro Wrestling without continuing on of building newer stars. TNA has done the exact opposite. They lose people, but they work very hard and they do a very good job, I must say, of allowing people to see other people in terms of developing new talent. And that's what you have to do. Now, you can't obviously be like WWE or AEW. We can acquire talent and they want to come to you and you can pay them a good amount of money, because at that point right there, it's a who's who of who you can get and acquire into your locker room. When you don't have that ability, you have to build and create newer stars. And I think TNA has done, at least this year in 2024, and probably last year as well, has done an amazing job of continually building new talent. And that's why New Japan is wrestling. They haven't been able to do that.
See, I think what TNA does is they work on a budget, so they have to be careful with who they get. And a guy that goes under the radar is Nick Nemeth, Dolph Ziggler. Here's a guy that I don't know why AEW did not take a chance on him or sign him. Maybe they're just, maybe I don't know, I'm not gonna say it's money, because obviously if they wanted to, they'd spend for Dolph Ziggler and Nick Nemeth. But this is a guy that signed with TNA, and it's been so much better because of it. And so we'll see what happens there. Obviously, they have stars. Now Tessa Blanchard is back in the fold. They're going to lose people because WWE is not stupid. They know who's the up and coming wrestlers. They're doing this whole WWE ID thing, and obviously they've ID'd some people in that company. And one of them obviously is Jordan Grace, who is, it's not a rocket science to know that unless something falls apart, she's going to be WWE bound pretty soon. But if they can do a point where it's like another farm system where, hey, they'll keep that talent there in TNA, let them get that exposure, and then they get fed to the company in WWE, that's fine. But to me, TNA is still profiting, and Tessa Blanchard comes back into the fold. Say what you want about her. Do you believe in second chances? I do, to an extent. So let her be. Let her continue. If she f's up again, she f's up again, and then you never hear from her again. Then she's blackballed. But she comes in. Jordan's probably on her way up to WWE. So it works in a way where TNA is still profitable, and they're still talking about him. And I think there's going to be big things there. And Joe Henry, to me, eventually will become the TNA heavyweight champion. So that, to me, is just not the instant gratification, but slow build to that position. So TNA, to me, is a much brighter future than New Japan Pro Wrestling. And then just look at the gates, look at everything they're doing. Good for TNA, and we hope that New Japan is able to rebound, because we love watching those shows. I remember staying up till 2 and watching New Japan Pro Wrestling, even having a password for New Japan World.
Or on our way to work watching it on our phones because we wanted to see Wrestle Kingdom. So I'd be at work watching it while I'm trying to not get in trouble for watching. Yeah. Awesome.
So we had the men, and let's talk about the female breakthrough, because I'm very high on this person too. Obviously, just by her looks, just jump off the page too. It's not just about looks, but it has an aura presentation. And again, she's walking away with another award here. Obviously, she won with the most shocking moment, but breakthrough. Now, she could have been, to me, female wrestler of the year. But there's other people had a better resume, obviously. But to me, she breaks out, because this is really her breakout year. This is the first time she was in there, 2024. And obviously had the big rivalry with Toni Storm, beats Toni Storm for the championship. And she's just taking the ball and beating opponent after opponent. And she, to me, is the breakout artist. And Maria May gets 2 awards here. She wins breakout female performer of the year. So congratulations to Maria May. Is there anything else that needs to be said about her? I mean, she works it. She knows is an amazing heel. The psychology is tremendous. Her promo skills are on fire. You have to take a look at some of her promos, man. Like, you get chills. You're talking about somebody that's been in the business for 20 years with her promos. You know what I mean? They're really good, and she works it. She's a great heel. The facials are awesome, tremendous. What's more to say about Mariah May? But she's a breakout, and she's one of the pillars to me now in AEW heading into 2025. It should be about her.
Yeah, I hate using that term pillars. Just I think it's over.
Well, I had to, because they use pillars.
I know, I had to use it there in AEW too. But no, I don't think anything furthermore needs to be said about Mariah May. The only thing I'll add on to that, Jeff, is the fact that when you look at Mariah May's story, right, and it's always important too, because I feel like sometimes fans tend to lean towards somebody because there's just this natural thing, and it goes back to the fact that you and I talk about it constantly, that it factor that you can't really describe, you can't really explain, and you can't really manufacture either. It's just there, and either the crowd reacts to you or wants to be a part of your journey, or they don't. But Mariah May has done interviews where she's talked about the fact that she documented her journey. She wasn't really much of a wrestling fan. She watched it, was on off it occasionally, but then really encompassed it and said, I'm going to try this thing out myself. I'm going to see. So it separates itself a little bit from the fact that I'm sure a lot of people want to hear that, oh no, you need to say that you're a fan from the age of 4 years old and what was your first favorite wrestling match? But I think now the internet wrestling community, or the wrestling fans, are more forgiving of that, because when they see the person put in the hard work, and you've seen her in the journey she's had, and when she's traveled over the country, and especially what she's done in Japan, and the great quality matches she puts there, and then she shows up and has the opportunity to be a part of a brand new company in AEW, and to me flourish right from the beginning, because there's just something about her that was uniquely different than everybody there. And listen, this isn't, again, I'm not trying to bash AEW, but I would define anybody to argue with me that since the inception of AEW, if you put aside Britt Baker, who to me, whatever you think about her is what it is, but the quality of opponents that Mariah May has to work with aren't at that level, unfortunately. She had a great match with Toni Storm, and I feel like what she's doing right now is she's showing her dominance. She is literally that one person that nobody really can compete with. Now, I'm sure a lot of people say, well, you have Mercedes Moné. Yeah, but they're really separating the two of them. They're not really trying to interact because they're trying to do their separate things. And believe it or not, they're actually, in my opinion, AEW is focusing more on Mercedes Moné than they are their women's champion, Mariah May. Because here's the thing. With Mercedes Moné, again, I can't discredit any of her accomplishments and what she's done and what she can continue to do from an in-ring performance. But if you want your face of your company, your women's division, because you never know if Mercedes Moné might change her mood and might want to walk out the door. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but that is a possibility. You have Mariah May. You don't want to blow that opportunity, because this is the face of your women's division that you can do so much with And to me, that's what's so exciting to see that she's the breakout performer here of 2024. Because if this is only a small glimpse of what we got from her, I'm really excited to see what 2025 has in store for her.
I honestly believe this is a division where there should only be one champion, and if it were me, I would keep them champion until All in Dallas for that big Arlington show, and I would basically just have them one on one unify those titles and make that one to me make the women's champion. Right now, Tony Storm is lost her memory, so you can keep playing with that for a little bit longer. You don't need to do it till maybe the fall of this coming year, where you get her back in the title picture, right? Because she's back to being Tony Storm, not timeless. So I would, to me, honestly, with the division, the lack of depth in it, I would say that, hey, let's do this, man. Let's have Mariah May and Mercedes Moné, winner takes all. The way that she's become a belt collector now, she's collecting belts. She's done it last night too. She beat Mina Shirakawa, and shout out to Mina because we love Mina too. So she's the belt collector.
She's the one. Stop being selfish.
Can't. So they just get more beautiful and beautiful, dude. I mean, it's a tough problem to have. But back to this though, wouldn't you think it'd be great? Biggest show, Dallas. Outdoor, arena show. No, I'm sorry, stadium show.
Mm-hmm.
Winner take all. You book that match, Mercedes Moné and Mariah May. I mean, to me, that's the way to go. To me, that's what I would build for.
Listen, that's something that I'm sure a lot of people are talking about, and people want to see Mercedes and Mariah May go at it one-on-one for the title and a unification in terms of doing that. Hey, listen, I can't say I disagree with you. To me, it would just be a shame because the reason why you have a secondary title is because you can't always have everything revolved around the World Championship. You want there to be more storylines. That's why we're seeing now secondary titles in the women's division in WWE for Raw and SmackDown. And to me, that makes sense because you have enough roster that can support that because you need that depth. Unfortunately, AEW doesn't have it. So as much as I would hate for it to go because I'd feel take an opportunity away from, let's say, a Willow Nightingale, a Chris Statlander, despite what you want to think about her, I think she has great opportunity there to.
But if you have no depth, though, why would you need another title?
Well, no, that's my point.
Yeah,
you would want one for those individuals, but again, if you don't have the talent to work around it to make that title more significant, then there's no point of it too. So yeah, I think at this stage right now, the roster being the way it is, you'd be better off just getting rid of the TBS title, in my opinion. Yeah, I would agree with you.
Mariah May honestly had the opportunity here tonight to go walk away and win a triple crown, win 3 categories here, because she could have won Feud of the Year. Her and Tony Storm, the build and then the feud, it was right up there. It just didn't last long enough because we got the shocking moment, right? It didn't have a proper build as you would want to see a turn, and didn't have the matches. But one of the feuds too, which I'm going to say this one to me came second, and it was really, to me, it was probably the second best feud out there, and that was between Hangman Page and Swerve Strickland. I got to give them credit. To me, I love the burning of the house, which is really good. And for some reason, though, everyone seemed to turn to Swerve Strickland's side, and they turned on Hangman Page, which was odd. And I ended up rooting for Hangman Page. I wanted him to get his revenge too, and he did. And we had that matchup too with the syringes and all that crazy stuff. And to me, that kind of dropped that feud down a little bit because I just didn't like that matchup. Then you get a Hell in a Cell where now it's about concluding rivalries. Before we just got it in a pay-per-view or a PLE, and to me it was just like, okay, let's just have a Hell in a Cell match. It didn't culminate. It should culminate a huge feud. And this feud, to me, say what you want about Phil, trendsetter, but to me, Drew McIntyre and CM Punk, because Drew McIntyre took himself to that next level during CM Punk's injury, really did a lot for this because his verbal skills, his mic skills, along with CM Punk's mic skills, because he was injured at the time. There really wasn't a lot of interactions till towards the very end. And then you saw this escalate. You saw things get personal. You saw inanimate objects take more importance than championships as far as a $2 bracelet, $4 bracelet. And you got a masterpiece in Hell in a Cell, one of the top 5 Cell in Hell matches of all time. The feud of the year here, in our eyes, is CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre, which culminated at Bad Blood in that Hell in a Cell. Obviously, there you have CM Punk coming out victorious, and Drew McIntyre took some time off, but he's back in the fold now. He's just picking up where he left off now with his situations with the Bloodline. But to me, Trendsetter, this is the feud of the year.
Not much more can be added to that, Jeff. Let's move on. No, I'm joking. What I
You
want
don't want to talk about Phil.
I don't want to talk about Phil at all. Bryan Danielson, Rhea Ripley, they're all hypocrites in my opinion. But again, it's for another show. This is an award show. Listen, man. CM Punk is what he is. He is who he is. He'll never apologize for that, let alone apologize for anything, I feel. That's what you get with him. To me, what I look at this feud is also, and here's another thing too, like we talked about the breakout performer of the year, right? You picked Joe Henry for that. Understandably so, and I agree with you. But another guy that was right there, in my opinion, was Drew McIntyre. This is another scenario of an individual similar to Liv Morgan that wasn't supposed to be in this position. And they took the opportunity, an injury to CM Punk, surprise, right? An injury to CM Punk. That body's breaking down, man. But an injury to him, which completely destroyed what WrestleMania was supposed to be originally. You have a guy like Drew McIntyre give him one last opportunity. In my opinion, it was probably one last opportunity because if it didn't work out the way it is, I don't think he's resigning. I don't think that he's resigning him to a long-term contract, which he did eventually do. And he took that and he finally showcased to me what I had always seen. Now, a lot of people could say, oh, that the opportunity he had before the pandemic was his moment because he saw the crowd was excited when he eliminated Brock Lesnar for the Rumble. He eliminated Roman Reigns and people were going there. And then we had the pandemic. And unfortunately, Drew McIntyre had his moment, but in front of nobody. And then he was carrying the company in a pandemic where nobody was watching. I felt it was unfair. I always felt that he deserved, again, not deserved, because I feel he earned another opportunity to showcase what he could do. And this was it. He had the ability with no restrictions. And again, I think a lot of this has to do with the theme here, guys, of the new regime where he was given an opportunity. All right, you go out there, you sink or swim. It's up to you. And he nailed it out of the park. He showcased, he surprised you, even you, Jeff, and a lot of people like, wow. Yeah. Drew McIntyre can actually talk. He's actually saying things that make sense. It's no longer the sexy Scotsman and all this stuff he's trying to do to be entertaining to the audience. It's him really speaking his truth. I mean, that's another word that gets overused too, his truth, right? But speaking in a way that's true to his character of what he is. And it was amazing. And you're right. He had to carry it all the way through until CM Punk finally came back. And CM Punk does what he does on microphones. It's a magical thing. I'll take nothing away from his mic skills and his ability to get a message across and connect with an audience. But man, the personal animosity between these two felt, as much as it probably was real that they don't like each other in real life, it was great. I admire, respect the professionalism for both men. And you're right. The mere fact that we were talking about an undisputed title match, a world title match that could possibly happen. And then when WrestleMania ended, it was all about a little small, it's not a $4, Jeff, or $3. It's a 99-cent bracelet. And that was the focal point and story behind it. Again, I still think in the whole story, similar to what you said about Swerve and Hangman Page, right? Where, man, people are actually rooting for Swerve and Hangman. What's going on here? People are actually rooting for CM Punk, which in all reality, he was the hypocrite one. He was the one that started this whole damn thing. He didn't have to do anything. And Drew was the one that people should be feeling for. Again, regardless, they both stayed in their lanes and they both did what they were supposed to do in terms of getting us intrigued and wanting to see this. We thought it was going to be a one-off. That didn't happen. Then we go and see CM Punk screw Drew McIntyre again. They have a match, in another country, and you think it's done there. No, it's 1-1. We get that third one to end it, like you said, an event or a type of match that has been kind of abused to a certain degree. A Hell in a Cell match. You pick your moments when you want to do it. It was the right moment because that was the only way you're going to get a resolution to this rivalry at Hell in a Cell. Did an amazing job there as well. Bunch of staples, blood all over the place. It's what you want.
Saw blood, yeah.
And the ending was amazing in terms of how it ended with the bracelets instead of thumbtacks on the floor. Again, great job. To me, CM Punk, we know where he is. He can do basically anything and not really get in trouble for it, or people would say, oh, he missed the ball on that one. Drew McIntyre, to me, was a breakout performer this year as well, and I think a lot of people need to give him his flowers if he doesn't have them already, because he showcased that he is at that level that myself and I'm sure a lot of people thought he was in. And to me, more importantly, Jeff, if you're a company like WWE and Drew McIntyre is doing this good and you sign to extension, wow, I just gave myself a whole bunch of year of stuff to work with.
Yeah,
it's end of riches for WWE to use him and what he can do in any situation now.
Yeah, the match quality was great. Went from SummerSlam when Seth was a guest referee. Then you had a stipulation match in the second one. Obviously, CM Punk screws Drew McIntyre in his title match against Damian Priest. So obviously, there's a reason to go against CM Punk, but people still rooting for CM Punk, even though he screwed Drew McIntyre twice out of the championship, right? And then we get that bad blood match, which was a masterpiece inside Hell in a Cell, and it was bringing back to the legacy of Hell in a Cell. It was 26 years, right?
Yeah.
26 years to that Hell in a Cell match between Shawn Michaels and Undertaker, and boy, what a nice tribute that they did for that. It was tremendous, tremendous, and obviously Drew will not go empty-handed because he'll take an individual award because he wins hot on the mic. He wins the award too because obviously he was a MVP. He could have been MVP as well. But Drew McIntyre on the mic, he was fire on the mic, trendsetter. Can't say more about Drew McIntyre. Throwing his flowers, going to be a big, big part of SmackDown, as I believe the rumors are saying that he will move to SmackDown as soon as this thing on Netflix is over. I can see him feuding with the Bloodline. I could see him and Cody. Obviously, we're getting that tease. Man, oh man, Drew McIntyre has a tremendous 2025, but it doesn't happen unless he doesn't take it to the next level on the mic, and he did. And no one's had more of an effect on that microphone. CM Punk is good. Seth Rollins recently, his promos have been good because you get that Seth Rollins, you don't get that wacky guy, whatever with suits. You get a real Seth Rollins. They've been
Still wears
good.
wacky attire though.
Yeah, they've been good, but superseding everything because, again, the impact of the mic skills and where it took him to a new contract. It took him to winning WrestleMania. It took him to this feud with CM Punk. It took him to all these things. And now Drew McIntyre is an important player in WWE because of it. So he was firing the mic in 2024 and still is. His promo on SmackDown was tremendous. He is just taking it up another notch where we always thought he would. He's not constricted by a stupid sword. He's not constricted by the Scottish psychopath. No, he is Drew McIntyre, and this is where he's belonged. And congratulations to Drew because you obviously have done it your way and you're doing it.
Yeah, and that's the way I really felt, Jeff. A lot of the talent that we've been talking about have done it in 2024. And just to kind of wrap that up here, when you look at a guy like Drew McIntyre, Liv Morgan, even a Dominic Mysterio, a Joe Henry, right? In this case, a Mariah May. They all have what we've seen, at least from my perspective in 2024, has been one particular thing that I hadn't seen before. Now, granted, confidence can be done in two ways. You can be confident in your abilities in the ring and confident that no matter in what situation you're going to be put in, you're going to knock it out of the park. And that's what I've noticed with all these individuals has been confidence. The ability of, hey, we spoke about this last year as we were previewing, WrestleMania, and we are talking about the historic mark of what Roman Reigns had accomplished in terms of being champion, right? And I told you, you look at him now, and it's amazing when you see individuals finally not necessarily embrace themselves, but come into themselves and be like, I know who I am. That's what you saw with Drew McIntyre. That's what you saw with Mariah May. That's what you've seen with Liv Morgan. That's what you've seen with Dominic, Joe Henry, all these individuals, because they have showcased the fact that they are in their own little path in terms of they know who they are, and they're just showcasing that, and it's working ridiculously. So I think that to me in 2024, I've seen all these stars that I've mentioned. I'm sure I'm missing some right now too, but have Toni Storm. I can't believe I'm forgetting her. Toni Storm, someone who a lot of people thought, okay, she does this. She's kind of a symbolic of things we've seen from the past, and do the timeless Toni Storm thing. Give her flowers as well. Has encompassed a lot of things she had to deal with WWE when she left. But again, in 2024, you're just seeing this level of people kind of taking the ball and running with it and being successful in it, or more importantly, Jeff, and I'll finish with this, not afraid to fail. And that's what I admire most about these people in 2024.
Obviously, not afraid to fail because you got to take risks. You got to take your risks to get anywhere in this business. You got to take chances. That's what they've done. All right, trendsetter. Listen, so obviously, can't say enough about these wrestlers, but also we're talking about the PLE and the pay-per-view of the year because obviously WWE calls it PLE and still pay-per-views to the world of AEW and other companies too. So to me, honestly, and obviously we've talked about this in the beginning, it's the impact of this event. Obviously, All Out is is huge. All In is huge for AEW. They have their shows. Obviously, TNA has theirs, but one encompasses everything. It's now 2 nights, and it's going 2 nights forward, and it's going to be 2 nights in Vegas, and you're going to get crazy matches too. There's just speculation already about the matches for WrestleMania 41 in Vegas already starting to take shape. Triple H says he kind of knows what the matchups are going to be. But anyways, to me, the defining pay-per-view, probably the greatest WrestleMania of all time, is WrestleMania 40. And hands down, to me, that is the pay-per-view PLE of the year. WrestleMania in Philadelphia this past year super exceeded everything. It broke records. It continues to do so. I mean, Philly wants it badly again. Obviously, it was logistically, it was good, just not weather-wise and everything, but successful everywhere they go. WrestleMania, it's now it's causing SummerSlam to be 2 nights, and then eventually Royal Rumble's going to be 2 nights, and Money in the Bank, and so on and so on. So, Trendsetter, can you think of any other PLE pay per view that was as impactful and significant as this year's WrestleMania was? Because I don't.
I don't either. And the only reason I'm saying it's not because it's just WrestleMania, but what's happened, especially for this one, WrestleMania 40, is just everything worked. Besides the weather, everything worked in the sense that every single match, whether the match was pulled off as a success or not, is a completely different other story. But every single one had something behind it that you could get invested in, you can look into. And I think that's a lot that we have taken for granted nowadays, because it's been so easy to be like, oh, you put these two individual people together, fantasy booking, and you're going to see some great moves, and you're going to see some great spots, and it's going to be, back and forth, and it's going to be like an amazing video game, right? There's nothing wrong with that. And there's nothing wrong for people that like that as well. I like that too. Sometimes I like the fantasy book, and just on paper, you're like, wow, it's going to be amazing, right? Sometimes it doesn't live up to it. Sometimes it does. But for this WrestleMania, it just seemed like, and I feel like we say this for every WrestleMania we're fortunately a part of, that you just feel the atmosphere. Like, wow, this is amazing. This WrestleMania 40 was not stupendous. It was amazing. It was probably one of the best WrestleManias I've ever had the privilege of seeing. Now, granted, we're there at WrestleMania where the hypocrite Daniel Bryan won the title, and you had the whole crowd chanting, yes, yes. You're around that atmosphere in New Orleans where, like, man, this crowd's crazy. It's amazing to be part of this type of electric atmosphere. WrestleMania 40, man, to me, even though it was earlier on in the year, to me just encompassed everything you want in terms of pro wrestling, sports entertainment, because it allowed you to just sit back as a wrestling fan and be like, I want to see how this plays out. And to me, that encompassed it more in 2024, with WrestleMania 40 in Philly. Does it go back to it? I don't know. If it does, man, I better have a lot more hot chocolate with me, because it was freezing there, but well worth it, because, again, we talked about match of the year with Roman and Cody. We talked about the story. You can't duplicate that. But you can duplicate the excitement for it. I think WrestleMania now, more than ever, has that ability. Before, in the past, it was always exciting, but now, when WrestleMania 40 ended, everyone was like, I can't wait to 41, and we're almost there.
So and left you satisfied too. Not a lot of WrestleManias leave you satisfied. Like the people at 39 wanted to go home happy. They wanted to go home with Cody Rhodes winning, and they didn't. So they didn't get that happiness, that happy ending. They got the finish the story the next year in Philadelphia. So obviously they left happy, oversatisfied.
Yeah, but even though we didn't get the ending we wanted, though, at 39, Jeff, it was still something like, okay, well, what's gonna happen? We'd still love this anticipating what could be, as opposed to be like, well, they did it. We didn't want to see this, but they happened anyway, or just feeling really, sour about it too. And I'm sure people were burning their stuff too. But again, as much as we were disappointed in 39, it still left us anticipating what 40 was going to bring. So to me, I think that's what the difference was compared to other WrestleManias in the past.
So obviously in award shows, there's obviously the everyone gets the praise as the lead actor and the lead actress, right? But yeah, I don't call it supporting roles. I call them MVPs, because obviously in the world of sports, we call them most valuable players, but not the best player, right? Most valuable to their team. And so there's a difference. Being the MVP and being also the best player to me, is a whole different thing. There should be different awards to, and that's why this year we're adding the MVPs, because the MVPs are just as valuable as the best performer, right? So to put both of these together, just so that we can go to so that we can send the fans home happy tonight, I'm going to put the MVP on the men's side and the MVP on the women's side first. Let's go. Toni Storm is the MVP to me. Of the females, and she to me wins the most valuable player as far as on the women's side. She obviously, we talked about her taking a chance and doing this whole timeless thing, and she took, to me, which was a nice, happy-go-lucky Tony Storm and turned her into this amazing character that everyone got behind. And she did it organically. She took a chance, and to me, she was the best thing in that women's division for that time in AEW. And she made a star in Mariah May. That was a great feud. That was a great match. So to me, she's the MVP on the female side. Obviously, you can say Rhea Ripley, you can say Roxanne Perez, you can say all these other people. But to me, Toni Storm, I only wish that she didn't go away too fast. Right? I wish it would have lasted a little bit longer, because then she really would have qualified to me for the female wrestler of the year, because she was right up there. She was right up there early on in the year.
Yeah, as trains going by, it agrees
Training
with
goes by, and I got to go because my right. Anyway, so
yeah.
So obviously, I think she was in the running, but to me, MVP is not a bad award to walk away with too. And we'll see where her reverting back to Toni Storm and losing her memory, since losing her titles, to see where that goes. But to me, though, she's the MVP. And on the men's side, trendsetter. I mean, dude, there's a lot of MVPs. Swerve, Danielson, a lot of people, even in the company WWE. McIntyre could have been an MVP just for what he's done too, right? He was there too. But you look at WrestleMania again, and this is why WrestleMania to me is important. You had a guy there who had a torn meniscus, had a very bad leg, and not only wrestled once, wrestled twice, and then was part of the main event, and he comes back in the Shield, and you see a burnt out Seth Rollins towards the end, doing it for Cody Rhodes, doing it for the business, and then taking the time off. But not even to mention that, he's the first ever world heavyweight champion, right? And then he took that belt, which is the worker's belt, because Roman obviously would take his time off, and he made that title. He made that title for Gunther. He made that title for whoever's had it.
Damian
And
Priest.
to me, and Damian Priest. And to me, it all goes on his shoulders. And now he is going to be in a huge matchup on Monday against CM Punk, and his mic skills, when he is that Seth Rollins, the serious Seth Rollins, is tremendous. He gave it to CM Punk on Monday night, and I'm looking forward to what happens on the debut of Netflix. Seth Rollins, to me, is the MVP of 2024. You just go back to WrestleMania, and that says enough. To me, hands down, Seth Rollins has got my respect a lot this year, dude, and he is the MVP on the men's side.
Yeah, there's no question about that. I mean, going back to Toni Storm, I think 100% she is the MVP, because not only, close to being female of the year, but the mere fact that when she debuted in AEW, it was ugly because of how she left WWE, and people were saying, "Oh, is she committed to this? How could she leave WWE? She's going now to a company." And early on, it was exciting, but it really isn't going anywhere. And then Toni, I wouldn't say out of nowhere, comes up with this character and does amazing, and the crowd can't get enough of timeless Toni Storm, right? And then when you revert back and we go to Seth now, it's another scenario too where we all knew how good Seth Rollins was, right? And you debate whether you like him as a babyface or a heel. I think he's better as a heel than anything, but this version of him has worked out, because it's really felt at that point that Seth was still trying to figure things out, because as a blue cut babyface, it didn't work out. And then he was the architect, and he was the visionary, this whole Jesus Messiah type of character. And now I think he's figured it out. People love it. It's kind of a Joker vibe, and people love the unpredictability of what Seth can be. Crowd reaction doesn't really bother him. And you're right. The ability of him to go one-on-one with CM Punk, similar to what Drew McIntyre did, and really give it to him. And I think that's what's the best thing too. And listen, this is where I'll give CM Punk his flowers as well. CM Punk has had the ability of making people either step up to the plate and do better and live up to their potential, or even go and surpass it, or they're going to sink and fall down flat in their face. We saw what happened in AEW. We saw in the past with CM Punk and the old regime in WWE how that worked itself out. In the scenario, Seth Rollins has showcased not only his ability to, again, no matter who he's in the ring with, to allow you to want to see him and see him perform and see him go through whatever storyline he's going through, but also at the same time, like you said, to do something for the company, to look past himself and the fact that he had a bad wheel going to WrestleMania. And he wrestled twice and then had to be part of the main event. God knows how much pain and discomfort he was, but he wasn't going to complain, because he said, you know what? This is my job. I love this company. I want to do this. And to me, he will always have my ultimate respect for that too. So to me, Seth is definitely MVP without a question in 2024.
Resigns with the company, and one thing too that CM Punk is that he can break you with his promos. And there's two people, and it just shows you on one side what happened in AEW, and it shows you the two guys that did not break but got better because of it is Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre. They did not break, and they were able to stand toe to toe with God, right? as far as you know. And CM Punk said that, and they were able to get past it. And now look where they are. Look where Seth freaking Rollins and Drew McIntyre are. And obviously, I cannot wait for CM Punk and Seth Rollins coming up on Monday Night Raw. And guys, again, real quick before we get to the main one here, we want to tell you this coming Monday, as soon as Raw is over, tune in to Give a Shot Network, like and subscribe, hit that notification bell for our post show, the Raw post show, the first ever Raw on Netflix. It's going to be a huge night. You already know the matches. We will be with you guys immediately after the show is over with our take, our post show, doing this on the Give a Shot Network YouTube. We will be on all the social media. We'll be on the Facebook, on the IG Live, on every social media platform that Give a Shot is on, and looking forward to doing that and our reaction to Monday Night Raw from LA at the Intuit Dome. We will recap a historic night in professional wrestling where WWE makes their premiere on Netflix. So it's going to be a huge night.
I just hope it doesn't buffer. That's all I hope for.
Let's hope not. And so now we get to the male and female wrestler of the year. The female wrestler of the year trendsetter is, we talked about her in the beginning. You can't say enough about somebody who took advantage of an injury in Rhea Ripley, and then say what you want about her wrestling. I know she gets criticized for it, but it's not just about the wrestling, guys. Look at the other things that she does. The heat that she gets, that organic heat. It's not go away heat, guys. It's not Mercedes Moné cringeworthy heat. It's heat. And then she gets put on with somebody else that gets major heat in Dom, and they become this couple that, to me, supersedes Mommy and Dirty Dom. Liv Morgan with her championship and then winning that title at overseas in Saudi Arabia, becoming the first ever. A lot of accomplishments for Liv Morgan. And then she's got a big one. Probably the last woman standing match with Rhea Ripley on Monday Night Raw. So she has ascended into that top level. And I remember going back to a couple of things and seeing her in a promo with Charlotte, and Charlotte cutting her off, and Shane McMahon saying, "You go back. No one wants to hear you." To go back to that, and now look at her. Amazing. Kudos. To me, no one's done it better. Liv Morgan is the female wrestler of the year. Congratulations to Liv, a Jersey girl who's done it. Look at that championship. And she could be saying goodbye within a matter of days, because she could lose that to Rhea Ripley. Man, trendsetter, kudos to Liv Morgan. Mad respect. Congratulations.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I can add anything more than we've talked about during the show in terms of Liv and what she's done, and just basically taking the opportunity of something that, in my opinion, was going to be a one-off of this Liv Morgan revenge tour. It was going to end the way she wanted it, to have that develop, and for the company to have the confidence within her to say, you know what, let's give this a shot. Let's take a negative in terms of Rhea Ripley injuring herself legitimately in her shoulder, and let's see what we can do with it. And for her to have that sense of confidence, which I think she always had in herself, but like you said, you go back to old promos, you go back to what she did when she defeated Ronda Rousey. And as much as people were rooting for her, I don't really think they believed her, regardless whether it was a feel-good story of her, cashing in Money in the Bank and stuff like that. But this version of Liv Morgan, I believe, I'm not Joe Henry, I believe in the fact that Liv Morgan has figured out who she is in terms of what she brings to the table. Like you said before, you can critique her wrestling all you want. It's not the greatest, but it's not the worst either. But what happens is it allows you to
everything else.
It still tells a story. It's not going to be a 5-star Dave Meltzer 5-star, 6-star, 7-star, 8-star match.
She'll never win 3 stars, but she don't need that, because she gets 5 stars and everything else.
Because she has that strap. She has the belief of the company behind her. And whoever she's in the ring with, it's great because they want to see either her lose or her win. Again, this isn't a scenario similar to the CM Punk, Drew McIntyre scenario where it's like hypocrites. People are against Liv Morgan when it's actually a Rhea Ripley who started this whole thing, and yet people are on her side. It goes in so many directions, but again, it allows you to be invested in it. So I agree. She's the female performer of the year, and this is just the tip of the iceberg for Liv Morgan. Oh, my God. It's amazing. I hope she retains her title. I think she's more valuable with it than without it. I don't think Rhea needs it. That's a story for another time. We'll find out what happens after Raw is over. But in this scenario, Liv has done exceptionally the best year you could ever ask for.
You get Punk and Seth Rollins. You get Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan. You get Tribal Combat with Roman Reigns, Sol Sikoa. You get Drew McIntyre and Jey Uso, and so much more. The Rock, John Cena's farewell. Travis Scott's going to perform. You might see the returns of Alexa Bliss. You might see all these crazy things happen. And there's really no time. It could be an hour show, it could be a 2 hour show, it could be. It is going to be unbelievable. I am so excited for this Monday, and I'm excited to be able to come on with you guys afterwards and talk about it. Guys, the male wrestler of the year for 2024. I mean, he won the major one, the PWI one, right? The wrestler of the year for 2024. And now he's going to win this award. He's won several awards too. The man, the QB1 takes the top prize, and that is as the male wrestler of the year for 2024. Cody Rhodes, the American Nightmare. Obviously, in a feud now with Kevin Owens. Love to see where that goes too. Taking a little step back from the Bloodline feud as well, which I think we all needed a break from that. And now, obviously, we'll go to the Royal Rumble and take on Kevin Owens in a ladder match with both titles, the Winged Eagle and also the Undisputed Heavyweight Championship. And this is a feud that I'm excited about too, because Kevin Owens is much better as a heel. So I love this. I love this back and forth. Yeah. Cody's delivering great promos with Kevin. So obviously they bring out the best in each other. But honestly, there's really no doubt. The man's been the champion. I mean, the man has continued where Roman Reigns left off, because obviously if there was a drop off, remember back in the 80s, if business was bad, and I said business, I think I said like Dusty, if business was bad, True, he would not be the champion right now. So going into Netflix, going into these huge things, Cody Rhodes has been a huge part of it. The company has not lost momentum, because that's how usually you measure things, right? You check out business, you check out merch sales. Cody's been leading that. So you really did not miss a step. Yes, you missed Roman, but you did not miss a step with the new QB1. And that's all you can say, man. And Cody Rhodes has delivered in the ring too. PLEs are now overseas. Royal Rumble's going to be in Saudi next year. Can you believe that? The company just keeps growing, and Cody Rhodes is a huge part of it. And there's no reason why he should not get thrown his flowers and get all this stuff. And he is by far the number one wrestler of 2024.
Listen, when I look at Cody Rhodes and everything he's accomplished right now, I mean, for people who want to dispute it, hey, you're more than willing or, able to dispute it. Great. I'm sure there are a lot of people he can bring up in terms of had, their stars of the year and deserve that accolade too. But when you defeat the most dominant champion in our modern era and you beat him and you lose him the year before and you beat him again, one of probably the biggest WrestleManias of all time, you get that automatically, I feel. And you're right, business hasn't dipped with him as champion. And, I think the first indication, not only when you look at the numbers in terms of, merch sales, ticket sales and stuff like that, but when you look at the scenario of, is the audience fed up with this? Are they getting tired of it? I don't think they are.
Yeah, the smart ones, the IWC fans that are like, oh, those are the ones, because I want to finish the story, but then you're really so quick to turn on Cody, and on Cody. You're not the real fans. Honestly, you're not.
No, and again, they're entitled to their opinion, but the mere fact that when you look at that live crowd and that audience, and you watch him on SmackDown, or you watch him show up on Raw, whatever the case might be, or you saw the reaction at Saturday night's main event, the crowd is still behind Cody. They still want him as champion. They still want to see him succeed and go through his adversities. Because again, if you were to take the title off him now, I feel there's still some stories there with Cody that people want to see. A Randy Orton, a Rock. Do we see a Roman Cody 3? I mean, I think that's still likely going to happen in the near future, or at least something that could intrigue people's attention to say, I still want him to be champion, because not that I have some false hope that he's going to break Roman Reigns' record, but I feel you have still things you can do to put more eyes and more butts in the seats. And now with this move to Netflix too, listen, as much as people want to hate it too and say that, Cody walks around like a heel because he's wearing the suit and holding the title like the NWA title, like Ric Flair and all these heels used to do in the past. But what better face, no pun intended in terms of baby face, do you want for your company than a guy like Cody who can represent that? And to me, what I felt really proved it and sealed it for me, not because I'm falling in for the story and I want him to finish the story and it's for Dusty, no, but he showcased something and I think overcame a challenge that not many people could do, especially in this modern era, that he actually, after losing at WrestleMania 39, made you still invest in him, that he was the champion without the title. That conversation you had with John Cena, where like, how do I get to your spot and level? And John told him, you have to make them care and you have to be the champion without being the champion. And he did that. I think he did that successfully, which is why at 40, that ended up happening. And I think it's still been success so far. He leads the WWE as the QB1, like you said, into this new era that we're going to see on Monday night for Netflix. And sky's the limit, not just for Cody, but in terms of like you and I have talked about before. Like, listen, we've lived through, and I'll date ourselves during the Attitude Era, and we thought that was one of the greatest eras of all time. And I would always defend and fight people who said, "Oh, the Ruthless Aggression era, that was better." Like, hey, don't ever speak to me again when you say things like that, blasphemy. But we're going to an era now, Jeff, where with social media being the way it is, and just everybody's ability to go on their cell phones and just look at and absorb stuff back way before the tape trading days. We've surpassed that ridiculously. This is a new era in wrestling or professional wrestling or sports entertainment, whatever you want to call it, that is like no other. And it's going to be historic once Raw, the Netflix show happens on this coming Monday. And again, as Triple H said, I don't think we've seen anything yet.
Right. Well, yeah, we haven't. So a lot to look forward to with that as well. And yes, Cody Rhodes, obviously. Think about this, Trendsetter. 2 tests to me. He had to be that champion for the 1 year with the title. Yeah. And now he had to follow Roman Reigns. And he has very successfully. Say what you want to say. Obviously, you can doubt the man. You can whatever.
Any lesser man would have failed on that aspect.
Any lesser guy would not have been able to handle the pressure. And he's got to do that other stuff, guys. He's got to do the media. He's got to be the face of the company. He's got to kiss the babies. He's got to do all that stuff. And that takes a toll, right? It takes a toll. And he's done it with a smile. So congratulations to Cody Rhodes. Congratulations to Trent. A great awards show. Remember, guys, one last time as my train he's coming in here. He keeps waiting for me to tell, hey, Jeff, you got to get on that train and join us this Monday night after Monday Night Raw on Netflix. Trendsetter and I will be here with your Raw post show on Give a Shot Network. We will come on and give you our analysis and our takes on what's going to be a history making. Whatever happens, right? But it's going to be history making. It's going to be big. It's a big era for professional wrestling as it moves now to streaming and Netflix. And it's going to be a big night, Trendsetter. We'll have the coffee on, and we'll definitely going to need it to as we come on 11 o'clock Eastern, maybe a little after, maybe before that. Who knows? Depends on how long the show is going to be, but it's going to be a monumental show, Trendsetter, a monumental award show. So, guys, make sure you follow us. Hit that notification bell right now as you're watching this. God bless you for making it through this award show, I know. But hit that subscription notification bell. And also make sure, and Trendsetter, see you breaking me, Trendsetter. You breaking me so easily. Oh man, I gotta be more professional because the Trendsetter breaks me. So, anyways, hit that notification bell and make sure you follow us, and we'll come on as soon as Raw is over. And you catch us. We'll give you our take on Monday Night Raw. But follow us on all our social media at iSpot Podcast. Thank you so much for the follows on Instagram. Over 31,000 follows. That's great. Keep it up, guys.
Always
Follow
appreciate
us on
it,
X. We are on TikTok at the High Spot Podcast. Make sure you follow us there. So many things coming up, Trendsetter. I am Jeff Martin. My co-host is the Trendsetter. Wrap this up as only the winner of the best wrapping up for 2024 could do, Trendsetter. Wrap it up as only you can.
Well, Jeff, I thank you for giving me my flowers. I really appreciate it. I would say I'm honored, but I'm not surprised because I do deserve it. But guys, thank you so much for watching this episode of the High Spot Podcast. Again, for Jeff Martin, I am the Trendsetter Brian Berga. Thank you so much for listening to us. We are and forever will be the Jersey Wrecking Crew. I mean, you can't take the boys out of Jersey, and I don't think we ever will.
But Reppin' Jersey, live. Reppin' Jersey, call me.
Reppin' Jersey. And looking forward to a 2025 that will be full of a lot of surprises, a lot of twists and turns, but we will be experiencing that with all of you guys here on the show with Give Us a Shot Network. We really appreciate their support through 2024 and now through 2025. So, guys, thank you so much. Remember, all of last year, as we wrap up 2024 and go into 2025, we did this for one reason and one reason only. We did this for you, the crew.
We'll see you Monday night, folks. Monday night, right here. Give Us a Shot right after Raw on Netflix. We'll see you there.